Awesome. Hey, everybody. Glad you're here. We got some big news this time for those who haven't checked their emails yet, those backers who haven't. The character book has come out. Backers got a link to it, and we've got a period where you can proof it for us for 2 weeks to point out all the errors we've got. But of course, there won't be any. It will be perfect. And we're going to talk about that today and show off some of it. And I think Andrew's got something to say too.
And I have seen it already, and it is absolutely perfect as only imperfection can be. Perfectly imperfectly perfect. So exactly the way you want any game to be. Plenty of opportunities for folks to put in their own interpretations of things and get their own no prizes. I do have a number of announcements. We're releasing the speaker list for the Siege convention I put on. I'll share links for that in chat. Will Wright and Aaron Hoffman-John are two of our keynotes. A lot of exciting speakers there. For those of you who do game development, I'm going to announce two other great sessions coming up. One is for developing or playtesting tabletop games digitally. And the other one is a meeting we're going to do next week focusing on how to build your Discord community as a game dev. I know there are a lot of game devs who watch this, so I'll share these as we go on. But I've been promising a major announcement, and this is the first news anyone is getting of this, outside of, Bill over there. And that is that we are re-releasing Fading Suns. We have signed a deal with
the Emperor of the Fading Suns.
Emperor of the Fading Suns. Emperor of the Fading Suns. Wow. Yeah, we told about that Fading Suns re-release. Yes, Emperor of the Fading Suns is coming back. Good Old Games will be publishing it. In addition, our Game of the Year winner, Merchant Prince, is also going to be re-released by Good Old Games. We've got two great games, two great award-winning games coming out from Good Old Games in the near future. And I hope to have more information on our next one to talk about Emperor of the Fading Suns release date and all the great stuff you're looking forward to. So spread the word. The Emperor is coming back in Emperor of the Fading Suns. And the Merchant Princes are coming back as well. So, Bill, why don't you tell us about this character book?
All right. Well, the character book, as some of the backers who have read their updates have seen, turned out to be way larger than we intended. And we were able to trim it down a little. Unfortunately, there's some little material we had to move out. We're going to be moving them, shuffling them into some of the other books. So those who got the link today will also have gotten the link for the addendum. That's the material we cut out of the book that will be making its way into some of the other books. I know Chainsaw Gothic won't be so happy to hear that the cybernetics, unfortunately,
someone took a chainsaw to it.
So they're going into the faction book as well as the cyborg calling. And so everybody can look for that there. Those who did only back the core but not the faction, you're still getting the addendum. So you're still getting all that info. We had to trim down a lot of the starship rules too. Those are in the addendum and they'll appear in a future book. But everybody who backed it will get those full rules and the little trimmed down ones in the main book. But otherwise, it's all in there. One more thing. There's some background on tech levels, historical, where they were in history and how to think about them. That stuff will be moving into the Game Master book. So most of the material is all accounted for. And we're able to squeeze it in to fit it.
Rules, you always have Noble Armada, both the tabletop and the computer game.
That's true.
So break those out. Those are still compatible in some ways. So we try and give you as many options as possible. A lot of comments showing up in chat there. Bill, can you see them or you want me to read them to you?
Yeah, I can see them. Yep. Someone does ask, I'm assuming it's about EFS, which is original game compatible with recent PCs or remastered HD.
I thought that was for Fading Suns. No, yes. So Good Old Games does a great job putting a wrapper around traditional games. So you can play them in a variety of different formats, different platforms, etc. However, it will be at the original resolutions, or so I've been led to believe. So, it wasn't exactly giant high res back in 96. So, it ran well on the 96 machines.
Right. That's only hopefully, there's all these new Fading Suns fans who have never had the opportunity to actually play out the Emperor Wars and have a different faction win. So now you can.
And remember, one of my favorite things always to do is exactly that. Start my Fading Suns game after the EFS game. So who knew Lee Halan might have come in having promised themselves over to the Patriarch to get the votes.
Oh, the Al-Malik win.
You can have whole
so
new.
If the Al-Malik had won, by now we'd probably be starting the Third Republic. Yeah, right.
Ah! Everyone's souls are gonna burn. We're flying into the dark between the stars. The speed of the sun's going dark is sped up.
Admiral Nelson asks about, he mentions, first of all, the cyberware next to cyborg. It makes sense. Where did the spaceship section go? The spaceship section is going
to the moon.
To the moon. It will be going into a spaceship's book that is part of a second wave of books. So it will appear in print. Eventually, it'll be a slightly different version. But until then, you've got the trimmed down version in the character book now, and the addendum has that sort of full version. So you'll still have the info there to play with. Yeah. Someone asks, Baton Ka says, why did you choose to continue the story the way it did, talking about the marriage and the child? Well, first of all, it didn't make sense for Alexius to keep putting off an heir forever. I mean, you simply have to have one if you wish to continue your lineage as a noble, and especially as emperor. And it made perfect sense for him to make a move nobody expected in terms of gaining an heir and whole new territory. It allowed him to surprise everybody.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we weren't able to play it out the way we'd originally planned on back with Fading Sun Second Edition. We run it on through into the aughts. Obviously, we all ended up on other projects along the way before we could bring that to fruition. But yeah, the whole idea was this would be a way to reopen the Fading Suns universe. So the original relationships really focused inward on the known worlds. So you had Solandra de Cados, you had Al-Malik, you had Theophana Al-Malik, you had Hawkwood, you had all these folks who were key parts of their own factions already within the known worlds, fighting for that prestigious role and for the chance to drive humanity forward in whatever form they wanted it to. The whole goal was, when the marriage finally happened, was to reopen the setting, bring more elements to bear. And that's now why you've got the Voldrak coming on in. The idea is we've all got to play in this known world sandbox for a long time. Now it's time to start making the sandbox into a full beach, making it bigger and even more exciting.
Yep.
So what else is in the character book, Bill?
Well, the character book is the core rule book. So you've got all the descriptions of the rules. That takes place in the first chapter. Someone said, Baton Ka. I understand, but what about the Caliphate? Isn't that an ongoing war which could have ended? Don't get me wrong. I love the choice. The Caliphate for now is kind of harder to reach in that the gate to Khayyam closed. Nobody knows why. All sorts of theories about who did it, why did it, and so on, this, that way. But it has allowed the Hazat to basically move in and claim a lot of the contested territory in Hira. So that world is, for all intents and purposes, now property of the Hazat. There's still a lot of cleanup to do, and we'll be discussing that in some of the other books. However, the gate to Khayyam could open at any time. Who knows what's going to happen? So until then, you got to take the long route, which basically means you go from Ravenna to Twilight, from Twilight to Antioch, and then to Irem. But that's not a route that most known worlders are used to going. It does mean that Twilight is going to get a lot more attention in the coming years as a waypoint.
I expect a lot of fun with
some of that in a forthcoming book too.
But also, there are very few jump gates for this route. So it's not just that people aren't used to it; it's that the ability to make this run is sorely lacking.
Yeah, the jump keys just aren't distributed very well for that.
Exactly. So this itself is going to be a quest. I love the idea that we can start building more of the mystery back into the Caliphate, they are separate out. News is coming back in rumor form. There really are no firsthand accounts of what's going on there. So yeah, it's opening up a whole lot of fun down the line. And I'm looking forward to the fun that'll be happening with Twilight. A lot of interest in little old Twilight down the line. As the Caliph notes, the known worlds are but a footnote in the glorious history of the Holy Caliphate. The Hajj may be mended or amended. Yeah, and as Phantom of Truth notes, that is not a route for a war fleet to go through. That would be a painful trip through. Now, of course, I mean, if you love the Caliphate, and I think there's so many good elements within that, there are ways around that. Certainly use the setting as you like. But yeah, we're hoping to have some more fun online. Oh my goodness, what art is this, Bill?
That's the rules chapter. And that obviously, as you can see, are people not happy with each other. They can't just talk it out. They've got to fight it out, which is what the rules are for.
Looks like a fair duel to me.
Somebody there might have an energy shield. And yeah, as you're looking at rules chapter up, here we go. Saint Maya with her fabled the chains they tried to chain her with that she broke.
And then swung and used to knock down the Carnegie Hall. Wait, no, sorry, wrong creature with chains. Or whatever King Kong knocked down in New York.
So you have a little ode to Saint Maya here at the start of this chapter. Each chapter has its own saint. This one is Maya, who's going to sit there and rule on your gameplay. She's going to set down the rules for justice here. And so, yeah, this first chapter gives you all the basics on the rules, how they work, how the roles work, how you get the victory points, how you deal with resistance, and then how you deliver the impact for your rolls. And this isn't just for shooting guns like we saw in that picture. It's also for social interaction too. So if you want to try to befriend somebody, confuse them, deceive them, impress them, whatever you want to do, there's rules for that also. And there's the same rough rules, except instead of damage, they deliver states, as you'll see later on.
Yeah, we've talked about before about how social engagements in many ways work like combat, how mental conflicts can do the same, spiritual ones as well. So I like it that it all works together. No need for a THACO, though I imagine my personality might have its own armor class to roll against. But
right.
I do like how they all are a nice streamlined measure. We still have our Price is Right format for the die roll close to without going over in order to show you how well you succeed. One of the things I always loved about Fading Suns was to have one roll to show not only whether you succeeded, but how well you succeeded, right, and give you gradations of success along the way. And that's been improved along in this new system.
Somebody asks here, let me see, who was it? It's Battlecow again. I have another question. There's an image in the character book between character growth and traits. What in the name of the Pancreator is that? I'm assuming that's the full page art for the traits chapter. And that one is a gargoyle. And if people who have the book want to go to page 103 and take a peek at it, the activities going on there may be familiar to some old school role players.
Yep, that's from Bunnies and Burrows.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's
from the Burrow Master's Guide.
Yep.
So why don't you talk about gargoyles, Bill? We don't particularly stat them out in anything because they are such powerful.
Yeah, Urtek's not something you can easily stat out. It's more that you just have to tell somebody the legends about it and leave it up to them to figure it out. But this is a particular gargoyle. Who knows which one? We don't know yet. We're just taking an interesting glimpse at it. Somebody's just discovered it recently, and they're trying to extract something from it. and while others are dealing with whatever was defending it down in whatever underground or space or moon base or wherever the hell this thing is. Who
But
knows?
please note that we don't have a rogue calling in the character book.
We have thieves.
Yeah, we have a thief calling, but not a rogue calling. You've got to wait for the espionage book for the rogue calling.
There you go.
That involves kissing people and taking their powers. No, wait. Sorry. Does not involve that. Just lots of kissing.
I'm going to X that out right there. We're not going to deal with that.
Chainsaw Gothic, I have no idea what you mean there. Never heard of that, whatever.
What do you mean? That was another nice piece of art. Some martial arts there.
All right, love the mask. Only the Phantom of Truth would care about the espionage book.
Yeah. There's a discussion of the initiative system, which, if people haven't had a chance to play with, is different than the previous version. This one is designed more to let the troop interact with each other and make decisions and get the upper hand or choose when they're actually going to lose the upper hand and so forth. Basically allows them to choose when they're going.
And one thing you'll notice, we've kind of maintained the philosophy that confidence is a big part of how quickly you will act. If you hesitate, you act less behind other people. So in the original rule, in Fading Sun 2nd edition, for instance, your initiative was based on your skill in a role. So the higher your skill, the more competent you are, the quicker you acted. In this case, it's based on perks and the like. And it is a part of your personality, how forcefully, how quickly, how decisively you act. Will decide when you.
That's for the characters who have an edge, yeah. Some people do. But for the most part, it's the troop determining who does what. So one of the problems with that skill in the first system is you had to decide what you were doing and stick to it and wait till your turn in the initiative to do it. This one is a little more open and wait, you can have a turn when the rest of the troop decides you get it. There are certain characters who have the ability to override that and take over the initiative. A lot of the perks give you edges, which allow you to do that. Some of the martial arts allow you to do that. Nobles can overrule the choices once per scene or whatever. Brother battle, especially if they're doing a combat action that can interrupt, step right in. There's all sorts of little extra ways of handling it.
And remember that the NPCs can also decide who goes next once they have the initiative.
True. And if you don't, basically the troop gets to decide when the NPCs get their turn, and if they don't, there are ramifications on the following turn. So basically the NPCs get the upper hand on that end.
Yeah, you don't want the NPCs to be going twice in a row, so.
And as Phantom of Truth says, a good troop can strategize and tactic the hell out of combat. And that's the idea. There are a lot of things within the actual setting that cause players to sort of be pulled apart from each other. So Ducatos versus Hawkwood and these faction versus those factions. But this is one way to help the troop kind of come together through the simple act of just trying to determine who does what in combat. And it will hopefully build some of those bonds.
Yeah, one of the things I like in this new book is how much there is in there that reinforces the troop play. The reason why you interact with each other. A lot of perks that help you help other members of your troop, or you do well because of what they're doing.
Right.
So a lot of that back and forth. And you see this perhaps most strongest within the priest class, but
the inspiring perk is the one all priests get, and that allows them to give their victory points to other troop members or even other NPCs if they wanted to. So they're definitely a support class in that way, and it helps emphasize just how everybody feels about priests generally in the setting too, which is that they're there to help, and even the Vestites are there to help.
Yeah, Chainsaw Gothic makes a good point. Showed my troop the new initiative system, and they liked it. Phantom of Truth notes that a good troop can strategize and tactic the heck out of combat.
Yep.
And Admiral Nelson says, my PCs haven't told me whether they like the new initiative system or not, but as a GM, I love it. Here's a victory point. Now let me blow your mind. Is it a VP or weird point to interrupt? It's a VP.
If you look on the screen, there's a little nice shot of acting in 0G. There's a section in the rules. Basically, environmental conditions are handled as it raises the resistance for doing a lot of stuff. And there's a little chart in there that shows you some of the standard conditions, whether it's darkness or too much noise going on, or whether it's 0G. There's no gravity.
You also have the new states, which are a nice way to keep track of what's happening and what is happening with your characters and how they are interacting with their current environment.
Right. Well, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Environment is if it's dark, people are visually impaired. That's one of the states. And so what you can do with one of the things that will eventually be coming out with this, we have cards for all the states that were part of the Kickstarter. And so if they all come into a very dimly lit room and stuff, you can slap that card down the center of the table to remind everybody, okay, everybody's visually impaired, unless somebody's got some equipment or special ability like a new car or whatever to get around that.
Right. For those of you who use the online platforms like Roll20 or Astral Tabletop.
So here's the actually, I'll just interrupt real quick because there's the chart right now. It shows you different environments and the states that he put you in. So if you're in 0G, you are the state of being suspended. And if you go look that state up, it'll tell you the rules situations around it.
Batten Ka says there are a ton of new states. So far, I've struggled to apply them because there are just too many of them. And again, if you're on the Roll20 or Astral Tabletop, hopefully that's an easy way. You set those up in advance. Great reason to have the cards. And I mean, there's no reason not to write up these cards yourself to use during a game.
Right.
I still use index cards. I might be the last human being in the world who still uses index cards.
Well, I think even in the rules, at least in one version of them, I don't know if it made it into the final, recommended just writing them on an index card and paper clipping it to a character sheet when they've got a chronic version of that state, so they're always reminded it's on and stuff.
So a quick question for those of you in chat: how many of you do use Roll20? How many of you do use Astral Tabletop? We do have a character sheet coming together in Astral Tabletop for Fading Suns.
And there's also going to be some assets available eventually on Fantasy Grounds too, and maybe some of the others. We're working on a lot of those.
Chainsaw Gothic says, yeah, I've been wanting to prep JPEGs for Roll20 that replicate putting down the index cards or post it. You just want to have an animation of a hand slamming it down on the screen and then a audio of a laughter coming after it. Call me JK says, I don't use either. I use my own spreadsheets. Very cool. I think there'll be other people in this chat who'd love to see those. Chainsaw Gothic says they just ran their last session in Roll20. Baton Ka does use Roll20 frequently, mostly because of COVID-19. Roll20 and COVID-19. They're fumbles in our game. No, wait. Admiral Nelson.
It's tougher to get the tabletop going.
Admiral Nelson did create the Roll20 sheet, but we created a Foundry VTT system at some point. Excellent. Yeah, cool. Chainsaw Gothic wants that hand animation.
And the PDF here is showing you the chart for spending VP, what it costs. For most things, it's really just one VP, one victory point per a +1 bonus or whatever, or to overcome resistance. Damage, it gets a little different. It costs 2 per +1 damage. And you'll see some variations throughout a lot of the occult powers too on how much it costs you for doing certain things. But for the most part, the easiest way to remember it is it's mostly 1 VP for +1, whatever it is you're doing.
And
so you could spend VP to get a precision bonus to hit on your next shot, or for damage to overcome resistance, etc., etc.
Phantom of Truth has not had to use any of the virtual tabletops, though Admiral Nelson's already started on the Foundry virtual tabletop character sheet, which is great.
Cool.
And Chainsaw Gothic says he doesn't need the sound effect. He can supply his own evil laughter, which is the sound I remember from across the hall when he was editing my writing long, long ago.
And here's the subject of resistance. It basically makes things harder to do. When you're doing a task that doesn't involve a particular person or whatever, generally the environment sets up a particular kind of resistance rating. But if it's a person, when you're trying to hit them, they've got their body resistance. If you're trying to use influence on them, they've got mind resistance. And then there's spirit resistance for occult powers. Body resistance is mainly determined by whatever armor you're wearing. There's a whole section on armor in the tech chapter. Although there are a few perks that give you some bonuses there. And mind resistance is largely determined by your rank among your faction. Whether you're like a knight or a baron or all the way up to duke or whatever, in all those factions. The higher you are in society, the more self-confidence you've got, the more other people know how tough it is to deal with you. And again, there are
There are
different
ways
perks.
to get it without rank, but rank is the basic.
Yes. There are different perks that will add it to it also, like stoic mind and stuff. So, but it's mainly through rank. There you get some troop guys working together.
Yep, love that artwork.
Yep. It's really nice for me to see a lot of Fitting Sons art in color, because we were hindered for so many years by the expense of color way back when you're printing these books. And a lot of that's changed, so it's really cool to see color.
Right.
Yeah. Then impact, that's either damage or a state you're putting someone in. And damage is applied against your vitality. And different weapons will do a certain amount of base damage. Even a fist has a base of 2 points. There, looks like a Voldrop kind of guy. Getting kind of testy.
I thought I was an engineer.
There, well, that too, whatever. Could be anybody. And here's a whole section on some rules for dealing with states, including rules for how you shake them off. If someone has put you into a state such as confused you or deceived you or scared you, you can try to just, get out of it.
I will not repeat Chainsaw Gothic's latest obscene post.
Yeah, combat maneuvers. All that. There's bonuses for taking cover. That's a pretty standard thing. Oh yeah, the customs. Basically, society is broken into these sort of different arenas of sorts, and capabilities you can have in these customs. Court, cathedral, commons, and it affects whether when you're trying to say schmooze up a noble. If you're the merchant and you don't have the proper capability for the court customs, it's going to be harder for you, because you don't know the sort of unspoken rules necessarily, or the ways to do it, or the proper, that you have to, first discuss, fox hunting or whatever before you even go into the matter itself, that sort of. And each of these guys has the same thing: priests and merchants. Here's a priest judging someone, or they're praying for guidance, and he's castigating them, I suspect.
I thought he was pointing them out for the flamers.
Oh, no. He's got to give them a chance first to recant before they turn on the flame guns. Yeah. If we go through, yep, there's mind resistance. We talked about the different types of resistance. Yeah. Stonewall is an action you can take to make it harder for somebody to get a state on you, to make you afraid or, friendly or whatever it is they're trying to do through social influence. And there's a whole section on optional rules. These things are entirely optional, but, they can spice up some games and, just give little extra details and stuff. One thing necessary is goal numbers above 20. Sometimes you're going to get there either through precision bonuses or through, God forbid, getting your traits actually high enough to where you're rolling above 20 at times, and here's what to do with it.
So I like these miscellaneous rules. Bill really worked to keep the rule system as streamlined as possible. I like all these additions. I think they give it more flavor and even more player control. But the basic rules are perfectly acceptable and fine way to run the game.
Yep. Like extra actions, you may want to wait for a while to allow that in your game. Happy with the system itself as it is. And then players get to try to break it a bit by doing all sorts of extra stuff. And this looks like a bunch of disreputable players hanging out at a bar waiting for somebody to give them an adventure.
Disreputable players creating disreputable characters, I'm sure. Yep. That actually does look like some of the players of my games in the past. Yeah.
There's the rule book they're looking at. Saint of Healing. And there's her angel behind her. Yep. And there's an ode to her. She starts the character creation chapter.
Yeah, the Saint of Healing starts character creation. We know what you players are up to.
Now that's just so they can all survive character creation. Certain science fiction games don't allow that.
Excellent. Every game should have a survival role.
Or a healer there to make sure you make it through even when you fail. So yeah, you'll see these what is this original traveler? It's there to prevent that. Yeah, here's explanations of how the character creation chapter works, and basically pretty much of a plug and play. You go through an outline, which you'll see in a minute, and oh, that guy's cool.
I hadn't seen that one.
Look at him yet. Ganok will be in the faction book. Someone just asked about the Ganok, and yes, they're in the faction book.
Yeah, Chainsaw Gothic post, Mayday, Mayday, this is the free trader Beowulf. Just wait for our supplement, Blaster Snapshot. More in-depth combat.
And here's your quick start character concept chart. First, you choose what species you are, and there's a convenient pictures there to show you. Your choices in this book. In the faction book, they multiply by all the alien species, the changed, and then the cyborgs eventually. And then you go down here and you choose what your social class is, and then that opens up which faction you are, and then that opens up the callings you can choose.
The
Caliph might be a noble of House Al-Malik who's a duelist.
The Caliph notes that just because you are a character doesn't mean you have a character, or something like that. And Chainsaw Gothic notes that he has fond memories of playing Traveler Snapshot as a kid, those deck plans. Remember, the Fading Suns 2nd edition deck plans were approved for use with Traveler. So relive those glory days.
I played Snapshot. That was a good game.
I still have it on my shelf here.
And then there at the bottom, you'll note there are open callings. Those are available to any class. Be an amateur, an artist, dervish, explorer, a Mercurian. What the heck? How'd they get in here?
They tricked you.
Psychics and theurgists, etc.
And of course, we're on Discord while we're talking about the Mercurians, which is just too appropriate. Phantom of Truth says, I'm stealing some notes from Hannick Nova. And that is upset that Phantom of Truth gave away the laminated ship deck plans. Oh, that hurts.
Oh, no.
And there's the link to the Ulysses Discord. Jump on it.
Stuff.
Jump on it if you aren't already. Been fun conversations there of late.
Yep. And here we get into some of your alien races, such as the Uroboon.
And actually, while we're talking about Discord, I will share the link to October 13th, how to get the most out of your Discord community. For all of you who have Discord communities, I recommend this. The speaker is very good and gives a lot of helpful advice. So join us October 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern. A lot of stuff. And if you're thinking of setting up a Discord channel.
I think you just posted some asterisks instead of the actual link there.
Really? All right. Tell me in chat if you can see the post I made or not, because it's showing up for me.
Oh, I only see asterisks, but we'll let other people tell us what they see. Who knows?
Aha, I think a lot of us also have private Discord set up for our gaming groups. Chainsaw Gothic, yes. Maybe link blocked. Asterisks. Oh, dear. Oh, because I'm not on his HDI Andrew, I am on his Georgia Game Devs.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'm going to share this elsewhere and let someone else put it up, and I will jump on as HDI Andrew as well. The stream sound quality today is impeccable, says Admiral Nelson. We'll work on that. Have no fear.
Yeah, we can't have that. Oh boy.
Yeah, so if Ulysses International can post the link I just gave them while I jump on to another account.
Yep.
That would be appreciated.
So as you can see in the character book there, you get the Urukar and the Voroks. The Urukar have access to 2 perks that is especially pertinent to their culture. The Bund have some of their own also, and the Voroks will too. Yeah. There are the Voroks. All 6 limbs.
All right, let me know if you see this link in chat now. I apologize for
I do.
one.
There it is. Yay, Urukar.
Everybody loves an Urukar. They're popular, always gotten along well with humanity.
Yeah, of course. And here we look at one of our main classes, the Nobles, giving you the basic traits for upbringing. Also includes here the open perks list. This is a list anybody can draw from when choosing their perks. And a little section there in case you were raised in space instead of someplace else. And then the Al-Malik.
Bubasti BR joined us saying, oh, just finished my class. Did I lose much? Do you mean a class in school, or did you just finish a whole new class for Fading Suns? Those who leave
here, each noble house gets quirks, which are the traditional blessings and curses you will recognize from the previous edition. But they also each have a favored calling, such as its enthusiast for the Al-Malik. And what that means is there are 2 different types of perks. There's class perks and calling perks. When you're leveling up, you get a calling perk each level, but you get a class perk only every other level. However, if you're following the favored calling of your faction, you can actually buy the class perks as calling perks. So they can basically go up in rank quicker, because rank is a class perk, or gain riches quicker, which is another class perk, because they're doing what their house really likes. And everybody also gets a material award that's specific to their faction too.
Baton Ka says, are you sad to hear that the new Dune movie is delayed for another 10 months? I always thought FS and Dune are very similar, and the books and movie helped me a lot understand the world of FS. I'm sure they delayed it just so they could grab more information out of Fading Suns as Bill releases more books.
Well, it gives us time to put together a movie really quick and beat it to the punch.
Excellent. I like it. We'll put it in Regal Cinemas tomorrow.
There you go.
Chainsaw Gothic notes that he's kind of glad he won't be tempted to go to a movie theater soon.
Yeah, they've also announced that Wonder Woman will be going to streaming, so you won't have to wait for the theater for that one. Thank God.
Gray Pilgrim DC already has a script.
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Interesting.
In Georgia, we've got a lot of movie studios, and they are essentially all full right now. They've just reopened for production, and there's such a demand from the streaming services and the rest for content. They're insanely busy and doing their best to stay safe.
Point out here, so now we're getting into the callings. You'll see that each calling has 2 patron saints. Now, those are just examples. They always have more than those. And these aren't necessarily official saints. Some are, some aren't. They're really just ones that people do kind of consider within that profession, within that calling, to have been some exemplar for that calling, and are kind of treated the way saints once were in the early medieval period. And there's also perks open to each calling. Some are very special to those callings, some are shared by the callings. But there you go.
Bubasti BR says, do a Kickstarter for a Fading Suns animated series. I'd give $1 million for a Fading Suns production if I had it. We've pitched it around and tried to get it going in the past. Who knows? Keep your fingers crossed. Now that Emperor of the Fading Suns is coming back out and Fading Suns is out and the new Noble Armada, we'll see where we go.
Yep.
Admiral Nelson, if you spend $1 million on that, I need to change careers and become an English teacher too. It was good enough for Stephen King.
Some nice art there too, the Leland Courtier, and now we've got I like that outfit. That's cool.
Yeah, the character art is some of my favorite art in this book. There's so much good art, but
Yeah,
that
nice.
character art is fun. Makes me want to play all these characters.
There's a Bleak Enthusiast. Yeah. You'll note their cover identity. Some of these callings pretty much allow you to follow two callings in a sense. One's your cover identity and one's your actual real calling. There's things like spies or the incognito. The incognito is the noble who has to hide what their actual, house is or their position is because maybe they've been dethroned and are trying to find their way back to the throne. And
Yeah,
there's
cover
basically
identity.
A lot of these groups have subgroups too, like the not questing knights, but the spies have spy agencies and the knightly orders and so forth.
Bill, do you remember how many callings there are in the basic book? Because there are a lot.
There are a lot, and I don't remember how many. I did know that number once, but some got cut out, some got added. So I don't really know anymore. Like Cyborg, for instance, was in here too, but now it's been moved to Faction Book. And that was an open calling, by the way, so anybody can be a cyborg. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of
There are
choice.
even more perks than there are callings.
Well, yeah, a lot of these people share some of these things too. Like fencing, for instance, you'll see as a Sybarite perk, but it's also a duelist perk, and some other people have those also, access to those sort of things. And one of the things about the callings is you can switch out every level. You don't have to stick to one. You don't have to say be a courtier from level 1 through 10 or whatever. You can be a courtier at level 1 and 2, switch to a cultist at level 3, switch to something else at level 4 or 5. So you can be, these aren't so much official roles. They're very general, sort of ways of looking at things people do and what they're expert at.
So Admiral Nelson is commenting that we're only up to page 60 on this. We're not going to scroll through the whole book today. If you're a backer, you're getting this.
Yeah,
so
you'll have to do most of that on your own.
Bubasti BR, I love the new art. It respects the tradition and the amazing art of John Bridges. I visualize FS mostly through his art. John Bridges is one of the best game artists, period. And one thing he did so well that I always loved was every picture he drew either gave me a new character idea or a new story idea or some new conflict, something fun. The pictures were incredible art in and of themselves, but they were also really stimulated the progress of the game and what you wanted to do.
Right, and he was adding a lot of variation, character types of genders and ethnicities back in the 90s when a lot of the games were doing that. It was nice. John is currently doing a lot of art for an art direction for the Smite esports game. If
He's gone from drawing saints to drawing gods.
Yep. As Chainsaw Gothic says, you can suddenly add in a level of psychic. Yes, it's heresy, but you can do it. Raise a glass to John Bridges' art. Thank you, I'll tell him. And here's the Inquisitor. Everybody wants to play an Inquisitor, of course.
Nobody expected him to be in this book.
With their brand.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, they've got some good perks too. There's some nice stuff. Yeah. There's a monk too. Monks come in different types. Some are a little martial arty, and some are more contemplative.
I will say the one complaint I have with the Inquisitor art is that flame gun should have been dripping Ka oil, leaving a little trail.
That was a brand actually, not a flame gun.
Yeah, the rifle was off to the side. It was slumped. Okay. No, I love the brand. It's a great addition. All right, monks.
And scribes and spies, oh my.
Templars. Not quivering.
Those are basically church fighters.
Something's wrong. Chainsaw.
I'm not gonna respond to that one. Chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Yeah, that's good Templar there.
Fargo on.
And now we get into the merchants. Yay. Those scum. The Muster and the Reeves.
All
There
doomed
we
to heck.
go. Here's a charioteer explorer in the picture there.
Clearly, the Reeves and the
Where
Kato
would he be without him?
this game.
And there's the banker calling. I'm going to use that as an example to call out that you don't actually literally have to be a banker. It means you're someone who does deal with logistics and money. So, for instance, if you're in the muster and you're a banker, you're the quartermaster. You're the one who's arranging getting all that equipment and stuff for everybody. So you're not just sitting behind the counter at a bank moving coins around. Necessarily, you could be. You could be the Reeve who does that.
And if you're the Brother Battle who took banker, well, your name's just Demolay. Call Me says, I haven't had a chance to look at the new downloads. Are all the new classes for Empire citizens, or are there outsider classes?
Well, one of the Yeoman class societies is for the Voldrock. So if you wanted to play a Voldrock amidst the known worlds, they're there for you. So yeah, it includes those fellas. The aliens. There's the Frontier for Alien Rights is one of the Yeoman groups too. And even though the character book only gives you an option of 3 aliens, the faction book gives you all the rest of them.
Now, while we officially don't have the Lost Worlder.
Yes, Vagabond. Sorry, I had to break in because they're my favorite. As Chainsaw Gothic said, yes, Vagabonds are one of the societies that Yeoman can join.
But I forget what I was going to say. That happens a lot.
Sorry.
Your IQ is 60.
Oh yeah, I have to get a list of those artists for you guys. Who did what?
I remember the.
I was wondering there, 419 callings. What? I didn't do that many. There were 50 callings, but the cyborg got moved. So now it's 49.
Sorry, too many jokes in chat.
All right. Well, there's another explorer. That's a tech redeemer.
There had been, we had talked about Lost Worlders being in this book, and you can make them, but there's no specific Lost Worlder group in here.
Right. You can pretty much make anything with this book. Right. Now, we give these pre-made, templates here, but there is a section at the end of this on custom creation, so you can, use the same rules for anyone. And we'll be doing new callings in different books too, such as, for instance, Cyborg is now in faction. And the Imperial dossiers, which will focus on a faction each book, give you new callings associated with those factions too. And here we go, the Yeoman, the sort of catch-all class. Those people who aren't nobles, church members, or merchant leaguers. This is the kind of do-it-your-own guys.
Call Me notes, I love the idea of secret Lost Worlder spies in the Empire. Yeah, that was always a blast. And once you introduce one in a game, the PCs are constantly looking over their shoulder for more. That's one of the greatest paranoias in the game. That's interesting. Babasti BR asks if Vorok's moved from a wolfish to a leonoid.
Yeah, that's the choice the artists have made. I could see going either way. I mean, there are going to be different types of Voroks, so they're not necessarily one way or another. We're just seeing a different, view of them.
PCs are no doubt still going to disparage them as dogs.
Yeah. And here we get into some of those more outsider groups I talked about, which is Frontier for Alien Rights, Vagabonds, yay! Society of St. Paulus, the Explorers Society, which can be joined by anyone. And they've got their own particular quirks too. And then the open callings, the callings that anybody can take. Anybody can be an amateur or an artist or an explorer or a psychic or a theurgist.
Call Me asked if maybe both types.
What are they doing here? I don't get it.
Call Me asked if maybe both types, the wolfish and the lionish Voroks, exist. I don't know. I asked the Klingons about how they changed over time.
There you go.
Phantom of Truth says less distinctly Krenos shaped.
Krenos, what is that word? I don't know that word. What the heck? Yeah. I like this picture too. That's nice.
All right, we're down to our last 10 minutes. So I'm going to share a few more links in the chat.
Cool.
First of all, we've announced a lot of speakers for Siege. So enjoy this link here. That'll be November 13th to 15th and online and free. So you can tune on in, check out a lot of game development speakers sharing thoughts.
Cool.
One of our keynote speakers again this year will be Erin Hoffman John. If you're not familiar with her work, you certainly should be. So I'll share a link to more info about her. Obviously, you all know Will Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned an event that we are not putting on, but which would benefit a lot of you, which is developing and playtesting your game digitally from Stonemaier Games. Let me get that link to share with you.
And while you're looking that up, we're looking at the section on how you just finish off your character, how you figure out what kind of armor and equipment and weapons they have after going through all the previous steps. And then here's a special sidebar on if you didn't see something you wanted, your calling doesn't have what you wanted, you can break the rules through the favors. The idea being is that if you wanted to take, say, a perk that your calling doesn't normally get, you can use a favor, basically someone from within the calling or the faction that you do want to gain something from, and then you owe that person something. And this is basically the general rule being if you want to break the mold, you got to give the game master a hook to basically use for NPCs or situations that they can then use in their game for your character.
Now, Bill, you note in the character book that players or characters can start with character creation with up to 3 favors. Any other guidelines on that?
I don't remember, honestly, because we went through different phases on that sort of thing.
I got to
read. Actually, do more if they need to. It's really going to be up to the game master at that point on how many they get or whatever. Yep, there it is. Inquire up to 3 favors. And again, this is just for someone, when they want to break them, they don't want to just rush through and pop down when everything's on the sheet. They want somebody to be a little different. Use a favor. There's always a way.
Favor is for flavor, not mini-maxing.
Right. It's there to basically give the game master something cool they can do now. And your character has something cool they can do.
Yeah.
And there's also the afflictions. So if you really, really perk that you couldn't get otherwise, well, you could take an affliction and it'll give you a perk instead. And the afflictions people will recognize from the previous editions.
That's my only major complaint with this game is that you can only take 1 affliction. Dozens. I want dozens.
Obviously, if the game master wants to be a glutton for punishment, he can let you, take more. But I would.
Well, you don't have to get perks for it. You just get more afflictions.
I would avoid. Oh, okay. Just the afflictions without the perks. I think they'd have to role play their way into that one. And then here's the section on where you go from there. Basically, how you rise up in level and what levels give you every time you do. And there'll be a chart here. There it is. Yay.
Oh, come on, Chainsaw Gothic. You must have played enough champions. It's not just the GURPS afflictions. Oh, my goodness. You'd have the dependent NPC. You'd be unable to go out in daylight. You'd be able to unable to go out when the moon comes out. No legs, no arms. Yeah, Champions is great for that.
Oh, yeah. Khalif weighs in on the Vorox here. The Leonine are the Eastern Ungava. The lupine-looking ones are the Western Ungava. Whereas the Ursine are bear-like ones. Polar Ungava. Good deal. Plus smaller continents and lots of islands. Great job there. That being from the guy who wrote the Vorox book. There you go.
Well, I think we're going to have to get off of this pretty soon. They need.
Well, we're ending here on the character chapter. We'll stop right as it starts on the the traits. There we go. We're back to traits, which we can pick up at some other time. But that was a tour through the first few chapters of the character book. And everybody, who's a backer can get this and scroll through themselves and come up with all sorts of questions for the next time we're here. Although I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we'll also have the Game Master book by that time too.
The Red Panda Vorox. And I'll be able to share more information about Emperor of the Fading Suns, re-release on our next Heretical Musings.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. There's a new show today on Ulysses International, The Dark Eye Adventures in Aventuria, premiering at 6 p.m. And if you're not watching the Iconic Productions Fading Sun streams, do so. They're great inspiration while I'm writing. I should say inspiration. They're great to have in the background when I'm writing Fading Sun's work, and they're just fun to watch anyway. It's a good group. So Babosky BR says, I know Vorox, but never played or GM'd for one. Need to reread the source book again. It's been a while. Yeah, everyone's going to be playing Vorox again. They are, again, pretty tremendous.
Well, Chainsaw Gothic's now banned for that last pun he just did. Sorry, gotta leave.
We're going to axe him from the stream.
Complete pandemonium. Which gargoyle is that? We discussed it earlier. Who knows? Someone just found it. Maybe a new one.
Admiral Nelson is hoping for a GM screen and actions maneuvers list coming soon after the GM book. Doesn't want to build those himself.
Yeah, well, those will be coming. Don't worry.
So he's hiding in the ventilation shafts of the ship, but we know he's just down there messing with the Sother damper.
Living with the hull rats.
All right, great stuff.
Great, thanks, guys, and definitely stick around for this, Dark Eye thing. That'll be cool.
Thanks to all for joining us today.
Yeah.
And more news soon, and I hope to see you on the 13th for that Discord presentation.
That will be cool.
Yep. Thanks to everyone in chat.
All righty. Thanks, guys. Bye.